Haunted mazes are a huge part of Halloween Haunt at Kings Island, but which ones are our favorites? I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics. Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are and that's who we care about the most. All right, let's get right to it, Don, because there have been some good mazes out there. Um, let me start. So one is a very recent one. So Hotel Saint Michelle. We both agreed that that was one of the better ones. What was your favorite part of that maze?
Well, first, I absolutely love that maze. I thought a lot of attention to detail in there. The scare actors were really into their character. I like the length of it.
Mm-hmm.
That some mazes that you go through, and we're not just talking about Kings Island. We're talking about throughout the industry. You go through, and it's you're in and you're out,
Right.
and you're like, what just happened? But this one had a lot of different rooms. I like the storytelling component of it. It was easy to kind of follow for me going through it. You could see the story evolve as you moved through the rooms. So that part is what I like best about it, was just that it had a backstory, and when you went through, you understood that story as you're going room to room. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick like a particular section, that was my favorite part as far as like what room. I loved like the hallway where you're walking down the
The hallway,
corridor,
yes.
so the characters could like slam the doors and pop out of them and stuff. I thought that was really cool. Um,
That was really well done through there, exactly. And there were a lot of surprises through that hallway. You're not expecting that, to be able to, open and close those windows and the doors. Those are a little unsuspecting, when you're going through there.
yeah, I completely agree. I love how like something terrible happened to like the 3 rooms that you go through. There's, like, a room that was burnt, a room that's bloody, and then a room that I think if I recall, it was, like, covered in acid or something, like, everything was burnt with acid. So, yeah, I would not recommend staying at Hotel Saint Michelle, but I would recommend visiting during your trip to Halloween Haunt. So that's, back in the old Action FX theater, but, very, very cool maze, and,
Yeah, definitely a must do. You're going to Halloween Hunt this fall. Definitely do Hotel St.
absolute
Michelle. If you're only going to do one maze, do that one.
yep. So the next one, and these are in no particular order, is Club Blood. So we talked about on the previous podcast when Kings Island kind of stepped things up when no one and nothing is off limits, and Club Blood kind of embodied that. I mean, wow. What was your favorite part of Club Blood?
When it was over,
Oh, wow.
it was really just think of the name Club Blood.
Hmm.
Vampires and uh, you know it was really well done for its time. It was probably the most immersive maze that they had during the Halloween experiences at Kings Island, going back to the debut of Fear Fest up to that point. Um, some of the outfits in that, were certainly, fell into that controversial
Right.
range a little bit. The scare actors really got into character in that one. Um, well done. It was popular. Uh, but like anything else, it had run its course. But I think during its time, the first 2-3 years of it, and just all the core and everything inside, room to room, just very well done.
Yeah, it was very over the top. Like I distinctly one thing that I don't know if they still use this prop or not, but they had do you remember the guy that was in like the glass room? And it was probably a plexiglass room,
Yes.
and he pulled what looked like poop out of the toilet and he would like smash his hand against the window and then lick it. So it was probably chocolate or pudding or something, but it was pretty gross to see. So that was pretty wild. I really enjoyed that
It
one.
was, yeah. I mean, but I was one of those ones that everybody had come from Fear Fest, and then the guests go through this maze, and it was definitely elevated, and that was the purpose of rebranding to Halloween Haunt, was to just raise the bar and to take it to a whole new level, and these kind of mazes certainly did.
Yeah, they certainly did. So the next one, this one wasn't as edgy, but it was definitely well done. And you and I discussed this, and we couldn't really settle on which iteration. But I put down Sorority House, which was known as Delta Delta Die for the first year or so. And then it was like a typical haunted house, like haunted manor. I don't think either of us could recall the name, but all of these were in the games building. That's where the Coney Barbecue currently is. But let's concentrate on sorority house because that's the one that's the most recent one before that building was torn down. But um, I always liked the scene when they're having like the dance, and you have to go through the characters are all dressed up, and you don't know which ones are real and which ones are mannequins.
Yeah, that was well done. I like, again, just multiple rooms, different settings in each one. It did look like a house, as you're walking through it, and you had what was it, the kitchen, dining room kind of things, and living room.
Mhm.
So that was one of my favorite mazes that I went through in all the years that I've been experiencing the different Halloween attractions at Kings Island. Uh, Guest favorite,
Yeah.
that they loved it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I think that had one of the coolest facades too. They built that facade that kinda looked like an old mansion or something, and the cool part is they kept the facade. I think they painted it different colors for when it became Delta Delta Die, but, or sorry, Sorority House. But it worked either way because sorority houses are, essentially old mansions in most cases when they're not built new. The ones, on campus and stuff are old mansions that the organization bought and turned into a living quarter. Uh,
Yeah, that was always the sign that the Halloween season was just around the corner because that was one of the first ones that would get
mhm.
constructed
Yep.
every year. They start to bring that out first. So, if you're riding the Scrambler, it was right next to
Yeah.
you. But the decor was really, really well done. I thought the scare actors they always had in there every year. Some of them returned year after
Mhm.
year. Um, they really got into character, and just a maze that was, I'll use the word fun, scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And the next one is kind of fun, scary too, and that's Killmart. So Killmart, I get a kick out of because it was a play on Kmart, and since the maze has come to be, now there are only two or three operating Kmart's in the United States. But that's another one that's fun, scary because it's not so much about the jump scares necessarily, but it's more about what can they do with the sporting goods section? What can they do with the clothing section? Like I think that's really fun. They do a really good job of creating a retail environment for their haunted house. I really like that one.
It does look like you're going through a retail store. It actually does. The way it's laid out with the different aisles, you've got the banners hanging from the
Mhm.
ceiling, like you would see if you walked into a Walmart or Kmart, where it's saying clothes over here, shoes over here, sporting goods back here. Um, got the cash
Yep.
registers, up front when you first walk in. That one, in terms of design, I think is one of the best ones that, I saw during my years at King's in terms of the design. You had some good scare actors in there, like they do in all the mazes, that got into their roles. It was, I think, outside visually at night when it's lit up with Killmart. I think that was one of the best visuals at
Mhm.
night of Haunt of all the different mazes that they have. Um, you always saw a big crowd, especially on the Saturday nights, wanting to go. So yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. It's I always made the joke that people would say, "How's Kmart?" Be like, "It's not as scary as a real Kmart," because Kmart's were desolate then, but nowadays people don't know what Kmart is anymore, so I can't use that
Yeah, when I
anymore.
when I was doing the park social media, and that was a lot of fun for me because you can play off of Kmart with a lot of fun things, like slashing prices in every aisle and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how they got the shopping carts in the front too. That's always fun. Um, Yeah, so, the last one, and this is a throwback, and we knew we had to throw this one in because anytime Halloween Haunt comes up, this one gets brought up, and the reason why this maze is gone is because it can't be where it was, but we're talking about the Trail of Terror. Now the Trail of Terror was a very, very long maze, outdoor maze, and
Outdoor, yeah.
what you would do is you would follow the service road back behind Flight of Fear, and then you would go through the woods as the actual trail, and end up kind of where Firehawk was. I guess now where Orion is, if I'm dating myself with this one. But that one was really cool because I remember one year they had this thing where you had to like crawl through a pipe and stuff. That was really neat. And then the other thing I really liked with that really sparked my memory is they had the outhouse where the door would swing open, then it would squirt water on you.
Yeah,
That was
when you're
pleasant.
walking through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was also part of the, where Dinosaurs Alive, ended up being too. So that was another reason why, it was no longer there.
That's
But
true, yeah.
that one was a lot of fun, you know, because it was outdoor, and when the fog would kick in,
Mhm.
it would kind of drift into that area. You know, you're down near, um, you know, the river back there, so the fog would kind of hang and linger right through there. It was a lot of, like I said, it was a lot of fun walking through it. The scare actors were able to hide really well in a wooded area like that. Nothing was better than when you would see the scare actors, with, you know, with the chainsaws, you know, and they pop out and they start chasing people, and you'd see the guests go like running, and some of them actually, you know, they thought it was a real chainsaw, and but it was as authentic, I guess, in terms of the scares, you know, as you can have when you have the scare actors with the chainsaw,
Yeah, absolutely,
you
yeah.
know, roaming around
Yeah,
back there. So it was terrifying for a lot of
yeah,
guests.
everything's nerfed now because now haunted houses use chainsaws that are battery powered that have, like, a speaker in them that make the noise, but I believe back then, they used real chainsaws, but they didn't have chains on them. So it was still safe to do because it wasn't really a chainsaw, but it still made that noise, and, a chainsaw's noise is intimidating. So to have one swung at you essentially, in the dark, in the fog, that was awesome. I
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for me to sit at the exit of it and just watch guests running out as the chainsaw, you know, the guy with the chainsaw is chasing after him,
Yeah.
and just watch the expressions and how terrified, you know, the guests were, and then they're like hugging their friends and everything when they got to the end of it, you know, and that's what you want the event to be about, you know, things like you know, getting scared with your friends, and then those nights for all those guests that experienced this attraction, you know, they're probably still talking about it today. You know, hey, remember that time we went to haunt and the guy in the chainsaw came at us? That's, you know, you can't beat that.
I completely agree. So, rest in peace, no pun intended, to Trail of Terror. That was a great maze. We'll have to talk about old Fear Fest mazes someday, because a lot of people bring up the one on the Eiffel Tower, and Curse of the Crypt is another one that comes up quite often, and so on. But we'll have to have a discussion at that maybe next year for, yeah, maybe this month. Who knows? All right, I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helwig, and this is Tower Topics.